In this lecture, we will start with kinematic analysis. Okay, so yes, now in kinematic analysis, the understanding is that the mechanism is known. That means its kinematic dimensions or kinematic parameters, and the variables are to be determined. Variables means those angles and distances which take different values in different configurations as the mechanism is operated. Now variables you can determine only if some of the variables are known. Now how many are supposed to be known? And that is to be the same as the degrees of freedom. So if you are um, working with a 2 degree of freedom mechanism, then two variables should be known for you to determine the others. Typically, the understanding is that the 2 degree of freedom mechanism will require 2 degrees of freedom, no, two inputs, and the two inputs are given, and then you can determine all the output variables and intermediate variables. That is configuration of the entire mechanism. And now you would recall that we defined the degree of freedom as the number of coordinates or number of variables which are required to determine the configuration of the entire mechanism appropriately. Now, what are the quantities involved? First, mechanism dimensions, which are supposed to be known for doing analysis, and other quantities which may be involved will be positions or displacements, and this is the first unit of analysis in which this is the problem. That is, the number of variables given will be the same as the degree of freedom, and other variables or some of them are to be determined. At the next stage, we would analyze velocities, and at the third stage, we will analyze accelerations. And understand that these have a necessary order of them. For example, until the position or displacement is completely analyzed, that is, unless the configuration is completely known, you cannot determine the velocity quantities. The reason is that the velocity relationships themselves depend from configuration to configuration. Similarly, only after all the positions and velocities are known, you can even talk about acceleration analysis. Now, before we go further, here you may ask, suppose I have a single degree of freedom mechanism, and you are telling that the typical idea is that the single input that is needed is given, and I am trying to find the output. Suppose I can do that. Now, that would mean that if the output is given, then typically I should be able to find out the input. Answer is yes. Now, one can also say that suppose both the input and output are known, but one of the kinematic dimensions is not known. The question posed is that these are the other kinematic dimensions of the mechanism except one, which we are trying to find out. Now tell me what should be that missing dimension such that for this value of the input, the output should be this. Yes, indeed, this problem is also equally determinate as the other problems that we discussed, but this is not a problem of analysis completely, in the sense that there is a little design involved, or then you would actually open the doors of synthesis, which we will discuss later. So, so far as strictly speaking, So far as analysis is concerned, all the kinematic parameters, all the kinematic dimensions of the mechanism are supposed to be known. Fine. So these are the quantities involved. Dimensions known, displacement to be analyzed with the required number of them known, and then with the required number of velocities, the same number of velocities known, others can be analyzed, and after that the same number of acceleration quantities known, typically inputs, the other acceleration quantities to be determined, that is the acceleration analysis. So in this lecture we will stay limited to displacement analysis only, and that also to graphical method only. Actually now we come to the discussion of methods. There are two kinds of methods, graphical and analytical. With the understanding that analytical methods at the end of their analytical work actually have access to numerical methods or iterative methods. Okay. Now there are a few issues here. If you draw the mechanism configuration to scale and thereby find the required quantities and missing quantities, then it is a graphical method. On the other hand, if you sketch the mechanism not to scale, and then each and every step which by drawing to scale you could have actually drawn on paper, you try to determine by your knowledge of geometry and trigonometry and algebra calculation, then actually that is analytical method. Though a systematic analytical method might go some other way. Now there is a little catch here. Graphical method does not succeed in all problems which are otherwise determinate. Analytical methods always succeed. Always succeed in what sense? In the sense that at the end, if pure analysis, pure algebra, geometry kind of things do not give you the answer, if there are problems which you cannot solve just like that by simple calculator or hand calculations, then you can always write a program and solve the problem with the program. Okay, and this program actually uses the expressions that you use for that you develop for the analytical solution. So these, now what is numerical? Which method do you call numerical? Adding two numbers, is that numerical method? No. Multiplying two numbers? No. Taking sine inverse? No. So what is numerical? So numerical methods basically mean iterations. So the required quantities cannot be determined directly through evaluations, but you can always make a guess of some of the quantities and develop equations which you iteratively solve. The typical solution process is that every iteration you get another estimate of the unknown, which is hopefully better, and then that converges. Now, the point is that graphical methods have their scope very limited to some mechanisms, which require only some kinds of constructions, which you can do with compass ruler construction. Analytical methods, without necessarily going to iterative numerical methods, can go a little further. After that, analytical methods also do not succeed well. Till the point analytical methods succeed, till that point you can actually a priori work out how many floating point operations will be required to solve this problem. In the case of numerical methods, and I will call only those methods as numerical which require iterations. In the case of numerical methods, since you don't know a priori in how many iterations it will converge, you cannot do that. However, you can work out how many floating point operations would be required in one iteration. Okay. The rest is as many iterations as it takes. Now, still you say that analytical methods can solve every determinate problem here. The reason for that is that for developing a program also, you will need the same expressions which an analytical method would produce on its way. Okay. So first we will discuss the graphical methods and then analytical methods. That means in displacement analysis, first this, then this. Then in velocity analysis, first this, then this. And finally in acceleration analysis also that order. Now, when graphical methods will succeed, to what extent it will succeed and so on, depend to an extent on the mechanism and to an extent also on these known quantities, which quantities are known. And you classify mechanisms as simple and complex. Okay. So we will see as we proceed what is a simple mechanism, what is a complex mechanism. So one reverse way of defining is that a simple mechanism is one in which the graphical method will succeed. But that is the wrong way of defining things. The actual definition of a simple mechanism is actually a little more elaborate. Okay. And then after that elaborate definition, you say that as an outcome, as a statement, as a fact, you mention that graphical methods succeed in the simple mechanisms defined so. Okay. If it is not simple, then it is complex, and then complex mechanisms can be further classified into complexity of low order of complexity and high order of complexity, or low degree of complexity, high degree of complexity. And these things will be actually more germane to the analysis issues when we study velocities and accelerations. In configurations or displacement analysis, you just stay at that point that they succeed in simple mechanisms and not in complex mechanisms. Let us see further what are these as we proceed. So, displacement analysis, graphical method. Graphical method is understood only by doing it and seeing how it is done. Okay. The points to keep in mind are these. First point, I mean, most of these are very obvious. Configuration of a rigid body in plane motion is completely determined by specification of 2 points on it or specification of 1 point and a direction. Okay. So, for example, if you position the nose of the person, where I mean in the image, okay, in the image, if you specify the nose of the person and then the central line through the head, nose, lips, and so on, then the image of his face you would have located, assuming that the face is a rigid body. Okay. So that is 1 point, 1 line, 1 point, 1 direction. Okay. Actually, 1 point and another direction also it is possible, not passing through that point, not a line passing through this point. So say you locate the nose tip of an image. Okay. And for the same image on on paper, other than the nose tip, you specify the line connecting the two eyeballs. That is also good enough. One direction is given and one point is given. Okay. So I'm only the direction of the eyes. If you give the both eyes eyeballs, then the nose is not needed. Okay. So that means that while drawing the configuration of a mechanism, the moment you have determined this much or this little, you can copy the entire rigid body there according to the position of those 2 points or that point and that direction. Then, while progressively drawing your configuration, at many situations you will find that you have two circles to intersect or a circle and a line. In both cases, typically there are 2 points of intersection, and in order to continue drawing the configuration, you have to select one of them. According to the context, you select one or the correct one. Another thing is, overlay of a tracing sheet is convenient and sometimes necessary to this parenthesis actually should close here after necessary. Overlay of a tracing sheet is convenient and sometimes necessary to locate a link with elaborate features and or several pairs. For example of this face, suppose the location of the nose tip is known and the center line through the nose tip lip center is known, then you locate the center line of the face. And after that, what do you do? After that, you copy the face shape and size from the original in a different position and orientation, of course, perhaps, and then you bring that copy on this, that is overlay. Okay, and then position it such that the central line from top to bottom of the sample coincides with the center line that you have already drawn, and then trace the contour of the entire face. So you have reproduced the face there at the required position and orientation. Okay. So tracing sheet is a transparent sheet on which you can make pencil marks. So in the original, where you have the full link with complicated elaborate geometry, okay, or perhaps 5 kinematic pairs at peculiar locations, and there you mark those points which are needed to copy it somewhere else. Then take that tracing sheet and put it on your paper where you are drawing the configuration, and put it in such a manner that those 2 points which you have already located, or that point and that direction which you have already located on your paper, that much at least coincides with the tracing sheet version. And then on the tracing sheet you have pencil marks, so put your compass needle at those pencil marks, that those compass needle pinpricks would go till your paper, and then remove the tracing sheet and then appropriately join those points to get the rigid link completely there. Okay, we'll see one example. And finally, this point with which we actually started the discussion. Graphical method is successful only for simple mechanisms or dyadic mechanisms. Okay. In fact, this dyadic mechanism, this little tip was supplied to me not from a teacher, not from a textbook, but from a senior. and that was very interesting. And on this point, I would mention something which you will find in the book, textbook, the fourth point of this, which is actually prejudice. The book says that in this fourth point, the book says that graphical method will succeed only for those mechanisms in which there is at least a four link loop. Okay, or says the same thing from the other side, that is, if you have a mechanism in which there is no four link loop, then the graphical method will not succeed. Now that is a prejudiced statement, because as I told you earlier in the first chapter, that scholars of the old school typically thought with the prejudice of so-called constrained mechanisms. Okay, that is single degree of freedom mechanism, and that is the case with single degree of freedom mechanism only, not in general. So at a stage, I got a little confused because I found that we could happily solve kinematics problems, displacement analysis problems of five loop mechanisms with graphical methods, and then somebody is telling that you can do only for those mechanisms in which you can identify at least one for loop link, a for link loop. So then I started creating problems, and then my senior told that no, don't stay in that four link loop, five link loop, and so on. Say that graphical methods will be successful only for dyadic mechanisms, which are simple mechanisms. And this is one very good description of what is a simple mechanism. A simple mechanism is a dyadic mechanism. And what is a dyadic mechanism? Dyadic mechanism is one in which at every stage of the configuration determination problem, you need to assemble a dyad. That means that if you can break down the configuration determination problem, whether analytical or graphical, whatever method, if you can break it down to a sequence of operations such that at every operation you are trying to assemble another dyad to the mechanism, yet another dyad to the mechanism. Okay. And what is a dyad? A dyad is an assembly of just two links with revolute or prismatic pairs between them and at the end. So this is one point which I mentioned in one of my earlier lectures. Identified 2 points and then showed you two links like this and said you can have this angle between the two links as you please, such that this point goes to one of the known points and this point goes to the other known point. If at every configuration, at every stage of the configuration determination problem, you have to assemble only that little thing, and through a sequence of such little things, one after the other, if you can draw the entire configuration, if you can work out such a sequence, then it is a dyadic mechanism. Okay, and a dyadic mechanism is a simple mechanism, in which case graphical method will succeed, and analytical methods will have a cakewalk. Okay, so that is the sense. We will see how it is. So you see that if this is the kind of dyad that you need to assemble, then basically that means this point you know, you draw one arc. This point you know, you draw another arc. Wherever these two arcs intersect, one of the two intersection points you select and you then assemble. And if one of the joints is prismatic, then it is even simpler. In that case, one circle and one line you have to intersect. Okay. So beyond this, for graphical methods, the best that we can do is to see one or two examples. So typically, the first example could be very simple, but I have not taken that because the first two examples that come to mind are the 4R linkage and slider crank. Okay. So what I have taken is actually a combination of the two. A 6-bar linkage, a 6-link mechanism in which this part 1, 2, 3, 4 is a 4-bar linkage, and then this loop 1, 4, 5, 6, 1, 4, 5, 6 is actually similar to a slider crank. Okay, and the input of this will go to output. Sorry, output of this will go to the input of that. Okay. So the two simple mechanisms I have put together, and this is also by definition is a simple mechanism. So in this, what are the kinematic parameters? First of all, the description of the frame, that is this length, this distance O2, O4 between the two fixed pivots, and this distance of the line of the output slider P from this frame line of O2, O4. Okay. So that line is also fixed. So this much is the description of the frame. Then the link lengths. Link 2, link 3. For link 4, it's a triangular link. So you have O4B, O4C, and this angle phi. Alternatively, you could have had O4B, O4C, and BC. Okay. They are equivalent. And then finally, this link 5, CP. This much you have as the mechanism parameters, which are known for the analysis problem. And then, suppose this problem is straightforward, input theta is given and output S is required. S means what? So from this fixed pivot, the position of P in this direction. In the vertical direction, anyway, we know that is constant, E. Okay. Eccentricity, E for eccentricity. So this S is the output to be determined, and that is a question. That is how the question is posed. Okay. Now you basically don't need this angle O2AB. You don't need the angle ABC. You don't need this angle. Okay. But as it happens, the process to determine S on the way determines these things also, because in the graphical analysis you will end up putting one link after the other, complete the configuration, and then draw your conclusions. Now here there is no point in showing compass, pencil, ruler construction to 20-year-old boys and girls. So I'll just point out to you the steps by which you can determine the locations of all the points. That is order of drawing steps. Even this is really not very much required. You can figure out. This is very simple construction, something that you used to do in school. So first you draw the frame line, O2, O4 line. Okay, up to you. You draw a line, mark 2 points O2 and O4 at the appropriate distance, and then you draw a line parallel to that at the distance E, and that is line of P parallel to O2, O4 at the distance, and then this input angle is given, this is needed. Okay, so you make this angle and cut O2A, you have located point A, and this point onwards, see how this diode things comes into picture. Now you see the point A you have located, point O4 is anyway known, and now next point is try to determine point B location of point B. So one arc for B, with O4B radius, with O4 as the center, another arc with AB as the radius and A as the center. They cut and give you B. And here you have to figure out whether to take this point of as B and or this point as B, because these two arcs will cut at 2 points which are mirror images of each other about the mirror line AO4. Okay. So hopefully you will have your sense proper to select the correct point B, and then O4B is done. You connect O4B, you connect AB, fine, and then you make an angle phi, draw this line, cut O4C, and so C you have determined. BC you connect. Okay, so draw phi, get C, and then with CP radius you draw an arc which cuts at 2 points, one here and one here. Okay, so the correct one you would select again from there. This is also a diode assembly. Okay, here one of the pairs is prismatic. So you see, revolute at one end, revolute in between, and prismatic at the end, at the other end. Then you have determined P, and then get the projection of P on the frame line. Basically, drop a perpendicular from P on O2, O4, and the foot of the perpendicular and O2, that distance you measure. Okay. So projection of P on O2, O4 gives you S, which you wanted to determine. Fine. So two very simple problems connected together gives us a simple mechanism, but the problem is a little more elaborate, involving quite a few steps. And now is the time for one really troublesome case. There is no question of doing the displacement analysis through graphical methods for a complex mechanism, because that is not possible. But let us start with a complex mechanism. Okay. So this is the mechanism. It will require some time for you to count the links and pairs, find out the degrees of freedom, and decide the inputs. So I suggest that you do that for 1 or 2 minutes and verify on your own that indeed the number of links is 11, number of pairs is 14, and the degree of freedom is 2. And I come back and join you after these 2 minutes. Okay. Okay. So by now you must have already verified this much. Okay. To help you, I have already numbered the links. So link 1 is the frame, and this is link 2, this is link 3, and frame, the link 1 is actually a ternary because it is paired with link 2 here, link 8 here, and link 6. This is prismatic pair, the other two are trivial. So link 2 here, link 3 here, and then this pentanary link, I mean 5 pairs, this is link 4, 5, then this slider is 6. You could make a different numbering. Then this is 7, and this link, which I have denoted as link 8, runs from here, goes, gives you the slot, and finally pairs with the frame. Oh. And this link 8 is actually a quaternary link because it is paired with link 7 at L, link 9 at J, link 1 at B, and the sliders here, okay, along the slot. So this is a quaternary link. Okay, so this is the mechanism. And pairs, very simple, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. How many? 12 revolute pairs, then one prismatic pair here, and the other prismatic pair there. Okay, so 14, total 14 pairs. So degree of freedom is 2. So you need 2 inputs. Of course, the understanding is that all the kinematic parameters are already known, which means, among other things, this height is known because that is the description of the part of the description of the frame. And of course, the distance AB is known because that is the other part of the description of the frame. Okay, so this line AB is understood to be parallel to this. Otherwise, any angle that also would be required. Okay, and between these two parallel lines, this height is part of the description of the frame. Okay, and then all the link lengths, everything are required, which is kinematic parameters, which you know to begin with. And then where to give inputs? Typically, you would require the inputs at this link and this link. I mean, I should not say you would require because it is not necessary, but typically that would be convenient because if the actuators are mounted near the frame, near the base, then the entire dynamic performance is better for the machine. Or one of these two can be replaced with this prismatic input, which is also connected to the frame. However, whichever two you choose out of these three, you will get a complex mechanism. Okay. So typically, I would think that link 2 should be actuated and link 8 should be actuated. And complex mechanism, why? Because by giving the input, you would have located point C, fine. And by giving this input, you would have located point J and point L and the line of E. That much you would have determined. But then you see, whichever loop you choose, the number of links that on the way you need to position will be link 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 links, not 2 links as required in the dyad. Okay. Then if you choose this loop, then you would have to determine link 3, 4, 10, 11. Again 4, very bad. If you choose from L, if you try to put things together, then at least you would require Li, that is 7, 4, 9, still 3. and you don't know any of them. So for graphical analysis, to see how graphical analysis you do for this mechanism, we would slightly change the problem. It is not input known, output to be determined problem. The problem is a little different. Say problem is for graphical methods, consider this alternative problem. With the second input, that is angle ABJ, say we were talking about two inputs at 1 2 and 1 8 pairs. So suppose the input at 1 8 pairs, 1 8 pair is known, angle ABJ, J is here. Okay. With the second input, angle ABJ given, what should be the first input, angle CAB, such that one of the output angles, angle ILG, has a specified value. Okay. So this is equivalent to considering not this as one of the input variables, rather this angle as one of the input variables. Okay. With this understanding, either that input variables are this angle and this angle, or the understanding is that input variables are this and this as we wanted, but this current problem is that this input angle is known and this input angle is required, inverse problem, such that this output angle has a particular value. So it is equivalent problem. Fine. So, and this can be solved by graphical methods. So how you will do? The first point is that frame you would have located to begin with. That is, you would have taken a point, line AB, located points A and B at the stipulated distance, and then drawn a line parallel to that as the line of K at a distance H. This much is the description of the frame. So AB, then line of K. And then through the second input given, this angle, you would have located point J, and here is the utility of the tracing sheet. The geometry of the link 8 is known. So wherever the original geometry of the links is given, you put your tracing sheet there, mark point B, J, L, and perhaps this entire slot. Okay, so copy this whole thing on the tracing sheet with your pencil and ruler, whatever. Okay, so pencil marks are there on the tracing sheet. Now, since you have located point J, so because this angle, angle ABJ, you have drawn, and then cut the distance BJ with your compass. So point J you have located. Now get your tracing sheet, put it on this paper such that B on tracing sheet and B on paper coincide, J on tracing sheet, J on paper coincide, and then wherever L is on the tracing sheet, you put your compass there, compass needle there, and prick it. Okay. And if you want the guidance, you draw the slot also, who stops you, but don't locate the point E because you don't know where it is. And then remove the tracing sheet, and then looking at the pinpricks, you complete this BJL. After that, now you have got JL. Okay. So make this angle ILJ that is given as the value of the output angle. And through that, you determine I. Okay. So from J with the tracing sheet, you have captured L, and of course the slot and line of E, and then you make the angle ILJ, locate I. The moment you have done that, you have got the standard dyad problem. I you know, J you know, and this link and this link you have to put. These two together is a dyad. So through the intersection of two arcs, you determine G. The moment you determine G, again get your tracing sheet, put it on the original and mark DFHIG, this entire shape. Get your tracing sheet from the original, put it on your drawing sheet such that the G's on the tracing sheet and on your paper coincide, I's coincide, and then wherever in the tracing sheet you find DFH, make pinpricks, remove the tracing sheet. Now connect the pinpricks properly to get this funny pentagon. This much you have done. The moment you have got this funny pentagon, then DE distance, DE length you know, you make the arc, and whether this one or that one, choose the correct one, locate E. Okay. So after I, you have determined G by the dyadic composition, then DFH by the tracing sheet, or whichever way. If you know all the distances, you mark them with your divider, compass, whatever, and then you do all these arc intersection, arc intersection. That is also fine. Okay. So tracing sheet is not inevitable. Tracing sheet is not something necessity, but it helps a lot. In fact, if you had a complicated profile, then tracing sheet would be necessity. Okay. These are of course drawable stuff. Okay. So after D, you can locate E on one side. Actually, not so much necessity. What was, yeah. So not so much necessary for finding this angle CAB, but for completing the configuration, you can make that E. Okay. And I have not noted it. Okay, because that is not needed for the correct current problem. Okay. And then since you have located DFHIG, in particular you have located F, then links 2, 3 is another dyad that you compose by arc intersection, and you get angle CAB. And now you say that the other input can be this much or this much, because in this particular situation both the angles are valid, because you see, if you join AF, then wherever C is, the mirror image of that C, that also will be a valid position of C, okay, for this particular problem. So that you get. And then if you want to complete the configuration, then the way you can mark E with the help of DE length, similarly you can locate point K through this, and that is actually the other output, the position of this slider. Okay. So in this way you can work out the configuration completely, but only because we rigged the problem in the beginning. Okay. With two inputs only at those two pairs, this pair and this pair, you cannot solve the problem graphically, but you can always solve it analytically, and that is the subject matter of the next lecture. Okay. So for this lecture we stop here.